An alarm went off. It pierced through my deep sleep. It seems I only slept soundly in this realm after a long night of thorough fucking. And last night, or whatever time it was, I was completely and thoroughly and repeatedly fucked. I sat up. I wasn't alarmed, even though the sound was annoying and overpowering. I feel safe here, with him, in this lighthouse. He was the commander in chief. That's higher than the CEO, at least in my mind. But he was not beside me as he was throughout the night. He must be out giving orders, protecting his property. I stretched my legs. I smelled my sheets before I stripped them off of me. They smelled like sex. I placed my pretty feet on the cold marble floor. The cold surged through my body, helping me to awaken even more. I walked over to his rack and pulled down one of my 6 new robes and nighties. I put one on before showering, only because of the ringing alarm. I walked to the door and pressed the button. The thin steel doors slid open. I don't know which is more impressive, the secured powered soundproof doors or the high powered alarm that was able to cut through the soundproofing enough to allow me to hear it, but now sounded 10 times worse. I could hear Pretty's voice, Bridget's voice, and running feet. "I'm looking for y'all," Pretty called out. "We are looking for you too," Bridget called out from elsewhere. "I'm right over here," I yelled out. Then there was the sound of running feet once again. "Stop moving," Bridget demanded. "Two of us have got to stop moving, and one of us has to follow the sound of the voice." "I'll run to you. Say something and stay still right wherever you are now." Some time passed before I heard Pretty and Bridget celebrating because they had found one another. Their celebration was beneath the sound of the screech of the alarm. I plugged each of my ears with a finger to drown out the noise. I told myself not to close the steel doors until they showed up. I'm rhyming so they could follow the sound of my voice, even though I could not hear myself. "Throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you're feeling good and you love your hood, everybody say, 'Oh yeah,' and you don't stop. Ain't no party like a Brooklyn party, and a Brooklyn party's nonstop." Pretty and Bridget arrived, gasping. Once they saw me, they both put their hands over their ears. I pulled them inside and pressed the button so the door was sealed and they could escape the deafening sound minus times 10. "Is there a fire?" I asked, my ears and their ears all unplugged and the alarm muted. "No, not a fire," Bridget said, calming down swiftly as though nothing had just occurred. Pretty still had a painful look on her face. Bridget started wandering all around the space, looking at everything like a detective. "This is the master apartment, a penthouse within the penthouse. So amazing." "Oh, bingo! I finally found it," she said once she saw his wheeled rack of treats, weed, pills, cocaine, cigarettes, cigars, and beaties. Plus, there were chocolates, caramels, gummy bears, pixie sticks, and now-and-laters below. She opened her satchel and started grabbing from the top shelf. "Chill," I told her. "Put it all back. I don't want him to suspect me of stealing his shit. I'm trying to build up a trust, and as you can see so far, the better my bond with him, the better it gets for you two. Besides, I am sure if you ask for it, he will give it to you easily." "Okay, let's put it all back," she said as she began placing everything back in its slot. "Except let's blow one pot stick together. Like you said, he won't mind." She was already holding one of his novelty lighters and lighting up. "Aren't y'all worried about the alarm?" "It's much better in here, but I can still hear that it's on," Pretty asked. "Here, this is some awesome pot. Have some. You won't even hear the alarm. Even if you still hear it, you won't even give a fuck," Bridget said. She was already buzzed. Pretty took a few pulls, and I could see that it lessened her nervous feeling. I've learned so much in a little bit of time. Bridget said it like whatever she had found out upgraded her status in our trio acquaintance. She wanted us to ask her and to need to know what she had discovered. She handed the joint to me. I took a pull. "The alarm. It's about a security breach. His son, you know, the one who you vomited on outside of the nightclub, is attacking the lighthouse with a bunch of other dudes." "That's dumb," I said, still talking. "How's he going to win by attacking his own father who lives in the tower? He's just going to get humiliated like he did at the club. Then he'll start apologizing like a little bitch." "What does his son even want? You don't want him. I don't want him. So what the fuck?" Pretty asked me. "He's scared. Scared people always come with a bunch of niggas to fight one man. That's the only way they can possibly win, I said. No, but his father has got a whole army. He's not just one man, so it should be a brutal fight to the finish, Bridget said, getting amped back up. I finally asked her, how do you know he's got an army? And how do you know it's his son leading the attack against them? I questioned in a prove-it tone. I saw it in the security room. Olga rushed through the crazy maze as soon as the alarm went off. She jumped out of bed and I followed her. There was a screen and she could view what was happening everywhere in this tower. She got right on the walkie-talkie and commanded the eunuchs to mobilize. I thought this was an army of men who were stationed somewhere close to the tower, but then I heard first, and eventually saw, multiple men in black up here sprinting through the maze to go put down the attack. They're all living up here in one big area, dormitory style, one cot each. Or like jail, I commented, but really was just recalling jail before conviction and imprisonment. Oh, this guy has everything that no one else at the last stop has got, and Olga seems to be his right-hand man. That's one of the reasons I'm sticking close to her, she laughed. Not because she has pot sticks? I asked, mocking her. I wish. Olga doesn't drink or smoke. Picture that, Bridget said. So that's why you were out last night searching the entire penthouse for weed, but saying it was for something else. I checkmated her. I knew when she rushed up on me and him in front of the shark room, she was out doing what crackheads do, fiending. I mean, me and Pretty smoke, of course, but there's a difference between us and fiends. Fiends behave in a certain desperate way. Back in Brooklyn, when certain crackheads had smoked up all their dollars and needed the next hit, they would wander around the streets looking all over the ground for anything to smoke that may have been dropped or partly used. One crackhead who was not looking where she was going and was so desperate in her search crashed right into a pole and busted her head. Well, my eyes are always open and seeing and looking, but it's true that I was really worried about her last night, Bridget said, pointing out Pretty with her head. You didn't see her reaction when she saw a few snakes, and it's not like they could bite her. They are stuck behind the glass in the wall. Bridget's facial expression revealed that she was low-grade chumping Pretty. You two obviously don't know the story of creation. The serpent is the evil one that started all of this shit. Haven't you ever heard of Adam and Eve, the first man and woman who God ever created? God gave them everything. He only asked both of them not to eat the fruit from the forbidden tree. The serpent is obviously a representation of evil. Why else would God give it no arms and no legs, forcing it to crawl around on its belly? It lives inside of holes deep in the earth. It's cold-blooded and poisonous, most of them, she said, her voice trembling. Well, the serpent came slithering and started speaking to Eve, making hissing, evil suggestions, saying that God was really nobody important and that the fruit was there to be tasted. He kept hanging around her until she betrayed God and ate the forbidden fruit. And when she did, God punished her and Adam, gave them knowledge they did not have before, and it caused them to be naked and feel vulnerable. Then Eve was given the task of having babies. After that, all women became the ones that must give birth. That's why birth is taken as such a huge burden by us women. It seems like everyone gets really upset when we become pregnant, including us. And don't you guys remember how many women were gathered at that UBS rally? Each of us who were seated there were mothers who killed our children. Some of the women there had killed 2, 3, 6, 7, or more lives. I killed only one. I didn't want to do it. My father forced me, but I should have been stronger. We are mothers who rejected the task of bearing the burden. And that goddamn serpent started it all, Pretty said, and then she cried. Her tears caused me and Bridget to go silent. Pretty seemed so sure of everything she was saying. Most of all, she seemed to have a lot of regrets. You get the last of the blunt. It will make you feel better, Bridget told her. Then Bridget remixed Pretty's story. It was that motherfucker Adam who started it all. He must have bossed Eve around, saying that she was inferior to him. And he must have bored Eve to death. That was why she was out alone talking to a damn snake. Where was he, and what was he doing? There are always at least 3 sides to every story. Sometimes there's like 6 or 7 versions, Bridget said excitedly, and it caused Pretty to laugh a little. So what's the deal about us knowing each other's names? The 2 of you know mine. I don't know yours, Bridget said. She is called Brooklyn. Pretty introduced me to Bridget, and I am named Pretty. I said, interrupting her. I call her Pretty, I said, introducing Pretty to Bridget. Pretty leaped forward and hugged me tight. I was caught off guard. In all of my all-girl cliques, crews, and gangs, we never hugged like that. I think you are even more pretty, the prettiest, Pretty said to me before easing up her squeeze. You two keep leaving me out, Bridget said, and leaped over us both, gathering us into a huddle on his bed. What's going on? The sound of the secure door opening caused us all to sit up to attention. Olga was standing there looking like a jealous lover. Bridget jumped off the bed and ran over to her. Nothing at all. Hey, the alarm is off. Is everything okay now? She said and asked at the same time. How did you get the door opened? I asked, Olga's straight face. I know all of the security codes in this tower for the sake of safety, she said, and pointed to her head as though she had memorized each one. What if something happens to you? I said, like a veiled threat. I guess nothing better happened to me, she said. We are all women here. Let's not fight. Bridget jumped to Olga's rescue unnecessarily. I just need to hammer into Olga's head that I am here now. I am top bitch. I will make sure I get those codes from him that she thought belonged only to her. I am ready to get my business straight and solidify my status and position. I told him much later when he returned. After I greeted him warmly and massaged him out of his war mood, I provided the list of things that could not be denied. I want a business space here in the tower. I like to design fashionable clothing for everyone existing in the last stop before the drop. You will see. I'm talented. I'm profitable. Invest in me, I said in my baby doll voice. Then I put on my baby doll look that I used to use on my father. Is this the doll or the tiger speaking? He asked me with a smile. Both. The doll is the bait. The tiger is the moneymaker, I answered. He was sitting between my thighs, his back pressed against me. I was softly rubbing his chest, stroking his few chest hairs. I lowered my hand down to his belly and then held his balls softly in my palm. I'm a businessman for a very long time now. No one else negotiates with me this way, he said. I squeezed him and slid my hand up and began a soothing hand job on his already at attention thickness. He groaned. You're confusing me, he said straight-faced but in a playful tone. I keep everybody and everything in, he groaned pleasurably. I tightened my grip a little. Separate categories, he said, finishing his sentence. I cocked my legs and stood behind him. Then I took one step over him, turned, squatted, and bent, then put my lips tightly on the head of his thickness. I did him better than a blow pop, a bomb pop, or a scoop of pralines and cream ice cream on a sugar cone. When he was fully satisfied, I was lying face down between his legs. I placed my head by his balls, laid it gently on his thigh, and tilted to my side, so I could still convince him physically if my words somehow didn't win him over. But I could feel I was close to getting what I wanted. I want a business space here in the tower, 2 talented tailors, a sewing room with top-of-the-line equipment, fine fabrics, 10 drawing pads, thread, and all sewing supplies. I want a music system in my design room. I want to be the only one who has codes or keys to my business space. I want to change the code on our bedroom space, and you and I will be the only two who know the code in here. I want my own secretary. I want to develop a partnership with you where my designs can be sold wholesale and retail, maybe in your spa building, but in other places as well. I'd even like to design an incredibly better garment for the nuns at the convent and the people who they believe they are rescuing, because that's business too. Is that it? He asked, as though my requests were not troublesome. Should I continue? I asked, and licked his balls immediately afterwards. Please continue, he said, but I knew he was not meaning with my list of wants, but with satisfying his wants. His joint was poking me in the eye, so I licked and sucked some to build up the tension. Then I stopped to torment. For your nightclub, I think I will make a great promoter. I could bring in talent and stylize each night to draw the right crowd to match the music. I began sucking again. Stylize was all he said, and I could barely even hear that. He was in the sex zone. Yes, like the music the night me and my friends went was not the kind of music lineup that I craved to hear. So if we have pop night, hip hop night, R&B and soul night, rock night, jazz night, throwback night, like that, Then the crowd will come based on their favorite kind of music and performers. What about my mascot, the DJ? Did you like him? I like only you, I told him, then took the last powerful pull. I'm no amateur, and I wasn't ever going to be saying I like some next nigga when I'm with another nigga. Real bitches know better. That shit backfires. After he busted, he said, "You've never been inside my nightclub. How can you be sure about being a promoter there without having seen it?" "Well, let's go see it," I said. "Today, we will go walking throughout the landscape of my labyrinth, as your friend calls it. We will choose the best space for your fashion design business. However, allow me to caution you and give you a choice. This way we both live without regret," he said, sounding way too serious. "I don't normally mix business and pleasure, same as I never mix sex and negotiation." He smiled. "I find myself at a disadvantage, a position I normally never willingly place myself in." He kissed my forehead. "But let's say this tigress has captured me and held me locked between her jaws, and I like it." He was caressing me. "There still has to be rules that we stand by." He was over me now. I was lying beneath him. Number one, he penetrated me. It felt good. "I'll allow you to be a tiger, roaming freely around my territory, like no other beast does in the penthouse. But you must be only my tiger. Pledge allegiance to my dick." He pushed in once more, then pulled out. He was teasing me with a very too slow stroking. "Number two, I will allow you to be the only one to know the security codes to your new space and to change the code here to my master domain only for you and I to know. Number three, I will provide you with the inventory for your textile business and introduce you slowly." He pushed in and grinded for a bit. "To buyers and retail markets I currently either control or access." He pulled out. I had already come. "However, my nightclub, I have decided, is off limits to you. You can tell me your promotion ideas and suggestions. If they are good, I will use them gratis," he said. "Gratis?" I asked. "Yes, as a gift from you to me, an enticement for me to agree to all else. And number four, you will only own and control and profit from your fashion business. Everything else that I already have belongs only to me. Number five, is there more?" I laughed to lighten up the mood. "Yes, it's always better to do things in groups of six," he said strangely. "Complete confidentiality in all of our affairs, personal and business. You will not discuss with anyone except me what we do or how we do it, or about our business techniques, contacts, and associates." "But what about my secretary?" I asked softly. "Good, you brought it up now. After the negotiation, after we are agreed on all the terms, you cannot bring up anything outside of what we agreed." "Is that number six, the last rule?" I asked. "No, that's standard business practice. Once our contract is executed, it's locked in place unless we both decide it's in our mutual interest to reopen." He looked at me. "That's fine with me, so I get to have my secretary?" "Yes. We will form a three-way confidentiality agreement. She will have to be someone who is bonded to all of the terms of our agreement, with the exception of ownership and profits. She will receive a salary and benefits." "Okay. Number six, let's hear it." "Number six, anything you deny me, I will supplement, bargain for elsewhere," he said, sounding like he knew this placed him at an even greater advantage. "That again. That's personal, not business. You're talking about bringing in other bitches to fuck in the ass?" I got tight. "That's way too specific," he laughed. "When I say anything you deny me, I will supplement it means anything." He sat up. His eyes looked completely alert. He was excited by Clause 6, I could tell. I was thinking, I needed to turn it in my favor at least a little. "You may supplement, but you cannot bring any other bitches into this tower. I am queen of the lighthouse. You fuck those bitches in the ass in the streets, or somewhere where I don't have to see it. And make sure they don't ever misunderstand that they are ass. And that's it." I had on a stern expression. He smiled. "So you agree to Rule 6? He asked me again. "Yes. If you follow my attachment word for word exactly, I demanded. Exactly word for word. Our 6 rules. Deal. Yes, plus don't forget my 2 tailors. Deal, I said and leaped with excitement.